name's Dan Woodin. Lived in Ames and Iowa State University, employee for over 34 years. My wife Jackie is a preschool teacher in Ames. We have 4 children that have all graduated from the Ames school system. So we have now 6 grandchildren. So with children and grandchildren, we've had kids in the school system since 1980. So very involved. All of our kids started in Ames and graduated from Ames High School. My 2 daughters and wife are preschool teachers, and my 2 daughters are also working with children with special needs in the school system, public school systems. My oldest son is a financial advisor in town, and I would say an exemplary community citizen, and very involved in many activities in town. And our youngest is working his way through Iowa State as a junior, so moving that direction. So we've been in town a long time. We've been very involved in education and all kinds of aspects of education, and that's kind of why I got involved with the school board 3 years ago.
So why did you decide to run for re-election?
Little did I know that when you get on the school board, how much time it takes to really learn about finances and all the decisions that need to be made. And it really takes, I would say, 2 years of going through the process, because there are decisions that have to be made every year at certain times, and working through all of that. Plus, again, I don't know if anybody ever figures out school finance, but to get to a point where you can work with that and the budget, it takes time. And now that I have that experience and background, I feel better prepared now to help move the district forward in the next 4 years.
So what impact does your area of residence and the community have on your stances?
I guess I would think none. We've lived in a couple different places in Ames, and our kids have gone to 3 different elementary schools and 2 different middle schools and so forth. So one of the problems in Ames is people stepping forward and being leaders and taking positions like the school board position, which is a lot of hours, as people are well hearing. I've recorded the hours for the last 3 years just out of curiosity, and of course we have taken on the facilities plan and been very aggressive, but it's 450 to 500 hours a year, and that's quite a commitment. So it's difficult to get people to run. And I know I've heard some discussions about whether it should be a precinct type of voting, much like the city council. But when you have a hard time getting people to run, then that makes it even more difficult, and you end up with more write-ins, and then are those people really willing to serve and so forth. So I don't think so. I think it's people stepping forward and doing it and letting the community hear it, and then going and voting, based on that, and not having what the papers and the media could call voter apathy at 5% when it comes to school board elections. And I think that's part of the problem, and that people really need to engage.
You talked a little bit about your family's involvement with the school district. How do you feel that will affect your performance as a board member?
Well, at our Sunday family dinners, my wife and 2 daughters often talk about planning for school lessons and resources and all of that. So, I'm constantly around discussions about education. My daughter she's a half-time teacher in the Ames School District, and but that she's not a source. She doesn't come and talk to me all the time about different things or whatever. She knows that I'm there to do a job and to do it unbiased and get my information and make the right decisions. So that's never been a problem. I suppose which it never happened because she's an exemplary member of the teaching staff, but if something were to come where she is something would be directly related to her, that would be the only thing that possibly could come up. But other than that, it's one half-time person in a very large system. So.
Are you happy with the district's student achievement record over the past several years?
I I think when people kind of start to hear all the information, they would answer yes, like I'm going to answer. Because we aren't meeting some goals that are set, it's because the state of Iowa and our school district has set some goals to aggressively meet the implementation of No Child Left Behind. There are many school districts in Iowa and across this country who believe that by this point there would no longer be a No Child Left Behind. And Ames really chose to engage it and say, let's go at it and let's see if we can hit the 100%. And we really know that we can't, because children with special needs are included in that, and it's very difficult and really impossible to hit. And even Arnie Duncan has now gone around the country telling people that 82% of the school districts next year aren't going to be able to comply and meet that. Well, that's a huge number. That's because some haven't begun the process and set their goals way too low. And now with a 3-year window to reach that 100%, there's no way that kind of progress can occur. And I think from our point of view, we are really trying to determine what is the real number. What is that goal that can be reached without being put on a watch list or whatever. And so I think we are making good progress. I believe what Dr. Taylor and Dr. Ross have proposed with academic coaches, with our principals now being our academic leaders in our elementaries, with teachers coming together and talking about kids with needs, whether it's some of our kids that need additional challenges and opportunities, or whether it's kids that need assistance in achieving the goals. We have both ends. I mean, once they get to high school, if a student is bored, that's a high percentage of our dropouts are kids that are bored. And so we constantly have to assess them as well. And then keep your eye on the middle, because remember, everybody always says, well, the poor student in the middle gets lost. We're paying attention to these ends. But we are working on methods, and that's where the teachers are going to, the academic coaches are going to come in. They're going to give methods that allow presentation of materials in different ways, so that, because kids learn differently, just like adults. We all learn in a different way, and what you have to do is find the best way for those kids to learn. So I think we are making good progress academically. We're still exemplary in this state, and we need to continue to be there, but it's only because we aggressively go after these things and assess them so that we can provide input if and when the time arrives.